Welcome back to TheChowTimePod. It's your host, Red. I got a video today from Alexander Grace. Again, please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that. Let's get that. Ciao.
My friend really cracked the code this weekend about how to get a guy to come to you at a bar and buy you a drink. There's a guy at the bar. We're kind of just like waiting behind him, but we obviously don't want to buy these expensive ass drinks. So he's kind of
Broke, dusty, musty, crusty.
noticing us. And my friend looks at me and goes, I'm going to wink at him. He's going to turn around and look at me and I'm going to wink at him and he's going to buy us a drink. So he turned around. She hit him with a wink, a little, just a little face. And not only did he buy us one drink, but all night we would go to the dance floor, go talk to people, mingle around, and then go back to him and be like, what's up? What's poppin'? Time for another round. The glass is empty. So yeah, sometimes the eye contact is not enough. You got to throw in a wink.
See how desperate and broke these women are? It's like, yes, they're using these men, but it shows how much little money or even self-respect these women have for themselves.
Oh my God. Practice the wink.
To be like begging men for free drinks like that. Like, not really begging, but yeah.
Get the drink.
She is laughing while telling this story, but I don't understand which aspect exactly is funny to her. Is she laughing at how naive the man is? Is it funny because of how dumb he is to think that a woman could possibly be interested in him? Is it humorous to her that he's stupid at taking her at
Damn, that could be everything you just said. All of the above.
Face value, in thinking the best of people, in assuming that a fellow human being, a woman, would not be so morally bankrupt as to steal his money through this fraud? Or is it just funny to her to see a man suffer? Does that bring her pleasure or enjoyment? I don't get it. I don't know what the source of her humor is. I don't know why she's laughing. To me, this story isn't funny. It reads like the confession of a psychopath. One of those terrifying people who cannot feel empathy and is happy to just lie to people and steal from them. But there is an important reason why I don't label this sort of behavior from women as psychopathic. Not because it doesn't fit the description. It's because it is common. Lots of women in this culture would have zero issue listening to that story. They would also find it funny.
Most women, don't have an issue when women are taking advantage of men. Any of those types of stories, obviously us men feel a way about it, but women feel like empowered to tell these stories because, men got in trouble, or men, are the blunt of everything.
You see, to label it as psychopathic is to dismiss the issue, to just say, oh, that's just one bad apple. But the situation is so much worse than that. The whole orchard is rotten. I would make the case that the biggest issue in dating right now, perhaps the entire culture, is the lack of empathy that women show to men. Women
100%.
Using men with no pangs of conscience, exploiting them, shaming them, blaming them for every problem in the world, making zero effort to understand the male experience. No compassion for male suffering. Some of you guys may have seen this clip because it went viral. This is a wife's response when her husband tries to open up and be vulnerable.
Hey, what do you...
Oh, I'm glad Grace is doing this one. I did this one and I wanted a couple... like a month back, but I'd like to see Grace's take on it.
What are you doing? I came out to check on you.
Huh?
What are you doing? Thought you were working.
I'm looking at this.
What is it?
It's wire. It's a spool of wire. And I'm almost out of it. Can you see the spool of wire? Mm-hmm. I'm almost out of it.
Okay.
And I've had this spool of wire for like 40 years. I bought it like this it's not a piece of a long time ago, but it's like 40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone. Does that make sense? This is what's left. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm sad for you, but you're wearing your Jets hat, and I'm a little concerned right now that you're wearing your Jets hat. I thought that's why you were crying.
Okay, I'm done.
Her response is so jarring because the audience is right there with him. He's feeling emotional. He's reflecting about how this spool of wire that he's had for 40 years reflects his own life's journey, his mortality. And her response is like, okay. You know, women try and place the blame on men for not opening up more, for not sharing their emotions and being vulnerable. But it is women's lack of empathy that made this problem so bad. I promise you, if the culture changed overnight and we all just woke up tomorrow and women were passionately devoted to caring about men's issues, men's suffering, trying to understand them, very quickly men would grow the capacity to talk about their feelings. But
True.
that is not the culture that we live in. Instead, male stoicism, keeping our emotions inside themselves, is painted as though it's some kind of moral defect in men. Women take no accountability for the role that they have played in men emotionally shutting down. And you know what's extraordinary is that modern women will have the audacity to say, well, how are we supposed to know about men's suffering? They don't open up, they don't talk about it. Just imagine for a moment if we used that logic about women's issues. In every single instance of women's suffering, beauty standards, sexual harassment, discrimination in the workplace, we are told that it is society's collective responsibility to work to effect change, to make women more comfortable. And if women are silent, if they're not talking about the problems that they're facing, that just means that the problem is even worse than we thought, and we need to double our efforts to make women feel safe to be able to open up and talk about what they're going through. We don't criticize and shame the women for being quiet. We feel guilty ourselves. Okay, we need to do more to help you open up. But for some reason, if a man struggles and he does not talk about it, that's his fault. His stoicism, his emotional strength and resilience is held against him. The double standards here are insane. There are many women who, inside their romantic relationships, will actually say this to their boyfriend: I shouldn't have to explain why I'm upset or what I'm going through. You should just know. And yet, any suggestion that women should be concerned for the silent suffering that men are enduring, that's quickly met with shame and ridicule. There are lots of women who actually feel offended at the suggestion that they owe men any kind of compassion or sympathy. They feel righteously justified in hating men and actively contributing to their...
Well, remember, society portrays men in such a light that it makes it feel empowering to hate on men in a sense. You know, like even domestic violence, like the last video I did with Kate, you know, it just hides the fact to society that men are suffering too. So they're hiding this fact. So women don't see it and they're pushed to their delusion. So why would they ever even see or experience or want to experience this? Because society is still pushing their delusion.
They're suffering.
Why do you hate men?
If you have to ask that question, that's kind of explains itself. Why do you not hate men? You hate men?
No, I don't hate anyone. I love everybody.
Aw, sweet.
Do you have a lot of hate in your heart?
Yeah. I don't have one, so...
You don't have what?
I don't have a heart.
This is a psychopath.
You don't have a heart?
No.
What makes you hate men, genuinely?
It's everything about them.
Can you name one thing?
Their lack of compassion, one, for the most part. I think that's my train. Is that a C train?
You just said you don't have a heart, and then you're going to say that men have a lack of compassion?
Oh, exactly. I don't have a heart because men have a lack of compassion.
So it's men's fault that you don't have a heart?
Yeah. Have a good day.
Thank you.
What?
What the hell did I just hear?
This kind of attitude is so widespread in our culture, and what happens is that it strips men of their human status. When you have made zero effort to understand men, you've heard nothing about their human struggles that would ordinarily provoke a sense of empathy, then it's easy to hate men and look down on them and to view women as superior. It's incredibly efficient circular logic. I don't talk to men about the struggles that they're going through, and because I'm not aware of their struggles, then I don't care. This has exacerbated the main character syndrome that so many modern women exhibit. The sense that only they, women, matter and that men exist in a purely supportive role. Their lives are only justified by how much they are contributing to a woman's comfort. So much so that many women date men with the explicit expectation that he perform, that he sell himself about what he's going to do for her. He needs to explain to her why he should be so lucky as to get chosen to be the one to make her life easier. But what would happen if we changed that? If instead of only thinking about what women want, we gave equal consideration to the desires and standards of men.
How tall are you?
How much do you weigh? Hard.
How much money you got?
How many bodies you got? That's right.
Do you pay all the bills?
Do you have any student loan debt?
What's your credit score?
Do you cook and clean?
How big is it?
How wide is it?
Chat.
Men, we have been on the defensive for so long. It's time to retake the initiative, to go on the attack. This isn't about small changes, about tinkering around the edges. The overall frame that modern dating and relationships exists in is rotten to the core. It is time for men to go on the offense, to bring dating conversations to the question that must be addressed before we go any further. Why do women display such a lack of empathy for men? How can modern women justify the indifference that they show to male suffering? Men need to stop falling into the frame that women set, where it's all about serving her needs and blaming men. Instead, make the conversation about her shortcomings. Why don't you care more about what I want? She wants to throw a tantrum because you don't text her enough. You're not showing her enough attention. Do not defend or explain yourself. That conversation is not important. Instead, what needs to be talked about is why is it that her first instinct is to attack you? Why not calmly inquire about your communication methods, your priorities? Why doesn't she seek to understand you and equally accommodate your needs, your methods, your style? Let's say she wants to criticize you for not taking her out to expensive restaurants or fancy holiday destinations. Do not explain. Do not justify. Enough of the defense. It's time to go on the offense. Actually, I don't want to talk about that. What we need to discuss is your lack of empathy. You're demanding all of this expensive stuff, but since we started dating, you have made zero effort to try and understand my financial situation. You don't know any of my feelings about money, spending, saving.
True.
You've made no financial contribution to my life, trying to make my life easier. So the only conversation I'm interested in having is why there is so little effort coming from you to understand me, to accommodate me. Why is this relationship so one-sided? Many women will have no idea how to respond to this, and they might panic, but that's their own fault. All along, they should have been making more of an effort to walk a mile in a man's shoes to understand what his experience is like. But that is not how modern women are using their time. They're too busy thinking about themselves. And I find this particularly evident in any discussion about a woman's body count. Here, women's narcissism and lack of empathy for men is on full display, because of course men want women who have had less sexual partners. It speaks to character, good judgment, pair bonding capacity, paternity certainty.
Morals.
If women spent just a second listening to men, they would understand this, that it's actually admirable for a man to have high standards. A man wanting a low partner count woman is an expression of high self-esteem. It's something to celebrate. Good for him. He has standards for himself. That's great. But of course, modern culture has encouraged women to see this as some kind of a flaw in men.
Slut shaming is born in the insecurities of men. And your insecurities are born in your penises and your wallet size. Because honestly, and I'm gonna be super frank here, I never heard a big dick man with not just big dick energy, not just BDE, but a man who's well endowed. I've never seen a well endowed man call a woman a whore.
Okay.
It's always the man who can't handle a sexually advanced woman in the bedroom.
Okay.
Gentlemen, do you understand what is at stake here? Frame is everything. Is this conversation going to be about dick size and your insecurity, or is it going to be about her lack of empathy? The fact that she is completely devoid of understanding the male experience. You need to realize that the power in a relational dynamic is rarely expressed in how something is being discussed, but in who decides what is being discussed. And I put it to you that the discussion that must be had at this point in time of the culture is, why don't women have more empathy for men? Explain that, justify that, make that make sense. The gentle, compassionate, nurturing gender that we're told that women are, where is it? Where's the evidence? The lack of understanding from women to men right now is fucking disgraceful. It's got to change. And for the rest of this video, I'm going to explain how to have this conversation with women.
Shout outs to Alex. This was actually a good topic, holding women accountable for the lack of empathy that they have for men. I don't think most of us men ever even have this conversation with women. I think it's a good time to start using these conversations to put women on the defensive. Why didn't I do this thing? Why can't you understand that I don't want to do this thing right away because I'm handling other things? Why do you want this done so quickly and you're being upset about it? Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that. And I could